Nymphomaniac Volume 2 begins where the first one left off, and it tells the story of Jo as an adult and the problems that she has to deal with once again as a nymphomaniac. And I'm just baffled after the experience simply because the first film had so much to say about love and about sex, and the first half of the second film does have a lot to say about that as well. But then it kind of tries to give a larger message at times, and in my personal opinion, the second film really went off the rails. I will certainly credit Nymphomaniac Volume 2 for its positives, considering that Charlotte Gainsbourg has a much larger role in this film. Her performance is outstanding, as is Stellan Skarsgård's, as is Shia LaBeouf's. And once again, a lot of the visual metaphors and comparisons and whatnot are very interesting to observe and definitely add a lot to the quality of this film. But despite that, the film has a few flaws that, of course, the original had. One, that the characters who are narrating the story and going over Jo's entire life pretty much, they can always meet each other halfway. And in this film, Stellan Skarsgård's character feels a bit too smart. Like, he has the absolute perfect comparison for every single aspect of Jo's life, and almost to a distracting and unreal extent. And some of the editing as well in the film felt rather choppy as compared to the original film. I thought the original, that is Nymphomaniac Volume 1, was brilliantly edited. Nymphomaniac Volume 2 has a lot of shots that are taken from the same angle, edited one after another, and done not in the best of ways, really making the visual experience of it a little less enjoyable. And through this film, we go through the journey of Jo's character and how she kind of comes to grips with her issue and kind of accepts herself in a way. There's a group therapy session in which she gives a speech in which she's in fact proud of the fact that she's a nymphomaniac, and that scene to me was such a beautiful thing and had so much to say about the world we live in today and about who exactly makes the rules and who exactly determines what is good and what is not good. But at the same time, her journey post that gets a little bit weird. There are scenes where she visits a particular location to have physical violence inflicted upon her, which certainly make for some of the most grotesque scenes, but still in tandem with what the film is about. Although after that, when she has a bit of a family issue and she goes out and does a lot of wrong things that have no relation to her problem after a point, that really seem unnecessary, that make her an absolutely unlikable character, is really where I felt that the film almost failed. I mean, the second half of this film feels out of place from the get-go, and there's a burning question that is posed at the beginning of Nymphomaniac Volume 1 as to whether Jo's character is a bad person or a good person, and I was hoping that through the course of the second film there would be some kind of revelations, both pro and con, for her character, and perhaps it's left up to our interpretation. Rather, they almost forget about it and they show stuff about Jo that makes the question so easily answerable that really was not in tandem with the way that the first film had set a lot of things up. And now the film makes certain statements, one about how men and women are perceived when it comes to sexual activity, and secondly about how people are pretty much hypocritical, and about how democracy ends up removing certain words from people's language in general. And while these statements are relevant, they are literally shoehorned into the film. They feel very out of place, and they appear out of the blue almost, making the experience all the more just convoluted and conflicted at times, because the film is on its way to delivering one message when suddenly another message just sparks up out of the blue. And the ending of this film certainly shows the progression of a character that is Jo, but at the same time, in order to present such a progression, it takes a very weird turn, has some strange revelations, and when it tries to link the film full circle, I personally really thought that they could have done a far better job. Nonetheless, Nymphomaniac Volume 2 has some good performances, some interesting metaphors here and there, but nothing, I repeat, nothing in comparison to the way the original film was crafted. And I have to say that Nymphomaniac Volume 2 is an extremely disappointing film to me, considering the promise that the first film showed, and I'm going to give Nymphomaniac Volume 2 a no.